Now, I honestly feel bad. I'm probably the only person in the room that feels bad for Governor Tim Walz. And I think that reaction suggests that I'm right. I'm the only person that feels bad for Governor Tim Walz. Because think about it. If I've got the easiest job to do in American politics, he's got the hardest job in American politics. He's got to go around and convince the American people that Kamala Harris is somehow going to solve the very problem she has been creating over the last 3.5 years. That's a tough job. If you're the praying type, I suggest maybe you say a prayer for Tim Walz, because here's what Tim Walz has to do. He has to somehow pretend that Kamala Harris didn't open the American southern border, but she did. He has to pretend that Kamala Harris didn't cast trillions of dollars in new spending, which is why groceries and housing are unaffordable in the state of Arizona and across our country. Tim Walz has to try to convince people that Kamala Harris actually has ideas in her head for how to govern the United States of America. And I think all of us with common sense, when we see Kamala Harris say things like on day one, she's going to tackle the affordability crisis affecting American families. A lot of us are saying, Kamala, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing the whole time? Go do your job. Stop talking about how you're going to do your job. Now, I will say, in Kamala's defense, look at this. Look at me being bipartisan. I'm being nice to Tim Walz. I'm being nice to Kamala Harris. In Kamala's defense, I think that every time she does an interview, we gain about 100,000 votes. So Kamala, keep on doing those interviews, whether they're softballs or not. And I don't know if you've seen some of the softball interviews that she does, but the problem, I know we have some baseball fans in the room, right? We've got some baseball fans. The problem with a softball interview is that you still got to be able to hit a softball. And I don't know if Kamala Harris could hit a T-ball based on what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And now we joke about this, but actually the joke is on us, because this is not just a person who's bad at doing interviews. This is a person who doesn't have the competence or the skills to be president of the United States. And I think in just 2 weeks, Arizona is going to send Kamala Harris a message. Go back to San Francisco where you belong. We're making Donald Trump the next president. Now, let's just talk about the economy for a little bit, and then I want to talk about the open border of Kamala Harris. Because, of course, in Tucson, we've got some of the biggest problems with the open border that we've had anywhere in our country. But think about how bad the inflation and affordability crisis has gotten under Kamala Harris's leadership. We've got average Arizona families are spending $1,000 more a month today to buy what they could have bought when Donald Trump was president. We've got Arizona families that are paying 55% more for housing and rent today than they were when Donald Trump was president. And we got a lot of Arizona families that are paying 25% higher prices for groceries than when Donald Trump was president. Now, this is because we departed from some very common sense economic principles, and I think it's important to compare the record and the plans of Donald Trump against Kamala Harris. Now, the biggest reason that we've got runaway affordability problems is because Kamala Harris has waged war on American energy. Think about this. If the truck driver who's bringing the groceries to the grocery store is paying 45% more for diesel, then all of us are paying more for groceries. If the truck driver who's delivering the lumber to the construction site is paying 50% more for gas, then all of us are paying more for housing. So Kamala Harris wants to wage war on American energy. Donald Trump's plan is very simple. Drill, baby, drill. Unleash American energy, and you'll lower prices for American consumers. Now, there's another thing that Kamala Harris, she's got her economic plan totally upside down. She'll say that she wants, and I've never seen a politician in my life, even the ones who want to raise taxes, they usually lie about it, right? Kamala Harris is going around bragging about the fact that she is going to undo the Trump tax cuts and raise taxes by millions and billions of dollars on working families. And then she wants to give money to foreign corporations that ship our jobs overseas. Well, isn't there something wrong with that? Here's the Donald Trump approach. We're going to lower taxes for working Americans, and we're going to penalize the companies that are shipping jobs overseas, not reward them. You know, Kamala Harris, she wants to impose so many regulations on our workers, on our businesses. There have been hundreds of billions of dollars of additional regulations that have nothing to do with clean water or clean air. Donald Trump and I, we believe in clean air and clean water. We also believe that we can have a growing economy while protecting our workers and protecting the jobs that they do. That's a big difference. And perhaps the biggest difference of all is that Kamala Harris came into office bragging that she wanted to open the American southern border. She came into office bragging about undoing all of Donald Trump's border policies. You know what Donald Trump thinks we ought to do? Build that wall, finish that wall, and send illegal aliens back home, not to the United States of America. Now, there is this crazy thing that Kamala Harris keeps saying. And you know, if you think of her campaign, if you pay attention to their campaign, she never talks about how she's going to lower grocery and housing prices for American citizens because she doesn't have any plans to do it. And most importantly, she's made the problem worse over the last 3.5 years. She'll never talk about how she's going to bring peace and stability back to the world with her foreign policy because she's been in office for 3.5 years and the world is on fire right now. So every time they ask her a question, every time they put a microphone in front of Kamala Harris and they ask her what she's going to do, she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Or increasingly what she'll say is she'll talk about Donald Trump. And the audacity for a person who's been in power for 3.5 years blaming Donald Trump for her failures, I'd like to have a president who takes some responsibility for themselves and their leadership, and that's not Kamala